Good afternoon, parents and the VI community. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Alexandra Baltimore Hookman, State Assessment Director for the Virgin Islands Department of Education. And what you have displayed on the screen are the members of our assessment team. So today we're going to provide you with lots of information about understanding your child's scores from last school year if they participated in the Smarter Balance assessments. But if you have follow-up questions after today's session, please be sure to reach out to us and we'll be happy to assist you. So first, of course, is me, Alexandra Baltimore Hookman, State Assessment Director. You have my email, alexandria.baltimore@vide.vi. If you reside in the St. Thomas and John District, you can always contact Astrid Hippolyte. She is the Assessment Director for that district, and her email is astrid.hippolyte@vide.vi. If you reside in St. Croix District, you can contact Ms. Kira Samuel, and her email is kira.samuel@vide.vi. And we have our new program assistant, new to the team, but not new to supporting the learning of our children in the Virgin Islands. Ms. Ziomara Jacobs is new to the State Assessment Office, though. And so her email is ziomara.jacobs@vide.vi. Today, we are going to focus on helping you learn more about the Smarter Balanced assessments. We're going to help you interpret the score reports that you've either received from your child's school based on the test that they took towards the end of last year, or you will receive the score report shortly. We are still working out in some schools how to distribute the score reports to parents safely. So in some instances, your child's score report might be sent to you electronically. We are also going to pack your toolbox with resources to support learning at home. And we also want to provide you with tips to strengthen the communication with your child's teacher. We have so much in store for you that we had to partner with a team from Metametrics to deliver this presentation. So again, I am Alexandra Baltimore Hookman, and you can always contact me if you need additional support. I'm going to provide you with an overview first about what the score reports look like, some of the resources that we've developed as a department to help you, parents, understand what your child's strengths and what their weaknesses are. And then I'm going to turn it over to the team from Metametrics. All right. So parents, of course, we want to make sure, we want to be as transparent as possible. And there's a lot of information available about the Smarter Balanced assessments. If you visit our site, vide.vi, we've included this helpful tab at the very top of the page. It's called Smarter Balanced Tests. That's going to take you to our testing portal. So this is where you go to find information about what the Smarter Balance test looks like. We've also included a section for students and families, so you can focus your attention there. And this site provides a lot of information about the test. So I'm going to click on students and families and show you what's there. Okay, we have two helpful areas. I would like to encourage our parents to take a close look at the assessments. I would encourage you to sit with your child and take a look at the assessments together, maybe over a period of time, maybe not in all one setting, it's really up to you. But we have practice and training tests available for you to take a look at, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to take a look at what your child will experience at the ending of the school year. And this will also provide you with valuable information of what your child will learn during this school year. So once you select on practice and training tests, all you have to do is select sign in and select the grade that your child is enrolled in. for this school year. If your child is in grades 3 through 8 and 11, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 and 11, actually, they will participate in the Smarter Balance testing in the spring. Also, new this year, students in grades 5, 8, and 11 will take the science test as well. Okay, so what you have here are the practice tests for those subject areas. Okay, so just by selecting students and families, selecting your child's grade level, you can see what the test is all about. So I would like to encourage our parents, the community, to take a closer look at the assessments. All right, so another valuable resource, again, in our portal under students and families, is the Starting Smarter site. This site was designed to help you learn or to help you interpret the score reports that you receive for your child. Okay, and this site is also available in English, and you can switch to Spanish. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, what you'll see first when you get to this site is a sample score report. So again, for any student that participated in our test last school year, so if your child took the Smarter Balance test, that means they were enrolled in grades 3 through 8 and 11 last school year, then they will be receiving a score report, or you already have it, okay? And this is what the score report looks like. It starts off with a letter from the commissioner, cover page, about the importance of the assessments and what the report includes. And then it gets into your child's results. So what you'll see for your child is first, your child's performance in English language arts. You'll receive an overall scale score and then an achievement level. So you'll see from this example that Jennifer is performing on level 2. When your child participates in the Smarter Balance test, depending on how they perform, they're placed on 4 achievement levels. Level 1 will be the lowest, meaning that they have not met the standard for their grade level or not met the expectations for their grade level. Level 2 means that your child nearly met the standards and may need just some intervention the next school year to be performing at grade level. Level 3 is where we want our students least to be. That means that the students have met the academic achievement standards or expectation for their grade level. Level 4 is excellent. That means that the student exceeded the standard for their grade level. So from this example, I can see that Jennifer, based on how she performed last school year when she took the test, she's at level 2 in English language arts. That means this year, she's going to need support, additional support from her teacher, maybe participating in supplemental interventions, like maybe an after-school program. And also as a parent, I will need to work with Jennifer so that she can get on grade level this school year, okay? Because she is she's performing at, she has not met the standard. All right, what you'll also see in this report is the comparison. So parents often want to know, well, how does my child compare to other students in my child's grade level that took the test in the school? Some parents may want to compare their child's performance to the district or to overall, how all students in that grade level performed in the territory. So that's provided here for you. You can see the average. So you can compare your child's score to the school average, the district, and territory. All right. Okay, after you see your child's English language arts literacy score, then you'll also see their mathematics score. And it's a similar layout. So again, you see the overall scale score that you can compare to the school, district, and territory. And then you have the achievement level. So in this case, Jennifer is much stronger in mathematics than she is in English language arts, okay? So she's met the grade level standard. She's performing at level 3. She's doing well. So this year we can expect that with good instruction, she will be fine next school year. I'm sorry, when she takes the test this school year. All right, then the third page of your report, you're going to be provided with your child's Lexile measure and quantile measure. Parents, we have great information in store for you because this may be an unfamiliar score to you. And that's the point of today's presentation, is that we want you to understand what all of the different measures on the report mean. So when I turn it over to my partners from Metametrics, they're going to explain what the Lexile score means and what the quantile score means. Okay, and then included on the report is your child's progress. So if you have a child in a higher grade level, they may have participated in Smarter Balance in previous years, and that historical information will also be there. And it's important to look at that. So let's take a look at Jennifer, for example. So you remember that Jennifer is at level 2 for English language arts, and we know that she needs improvement. But when we take a look back in time, you can see that Jennifer is on the right trajectory to being on grade level. Okay, so sometimes when we look at our child's results or a student's results in just at one point, we may not be able to see the progress. But when I look back to Jennifer's performance in 2019 as a 5th grader, I can see that she is moving in the right direction. She actually went from level 1 as a 5th grader to level 2 as a 7th grader, and actually pretty close to that level 3 mark or target, being on grade level. So, you know, if we continue to support her, partner with your child's teacher, then we can get Jennifer to where she needs to be, okay? And in mathematics, you can see the real growth from Jennifer taking the test as a 5th grader. Now as a 7th grader, she is performing on grade level in mathematics, and that is something to really, really be proud of, okay? So it's important when we look at our child's score report that we look at where they're coming from and recognize the growth that they've demonstrated. Okay, we've also included helpful resources for you to support learning at home. For English language arts and math, we strongly recommend these parent roadmaps. The parent roadmaps explain what your child will be expected to learn this school year. So it's in very parent-friendly language. I think each brochure is about 4 to 6 pages. It just provides you with that big picture of the concepts that your child will learn. So by reading the parent roadmap, also looking at what your child is bringing home, you want to make sure that those two things are in alignment, that what your child is experiencing every day in the classroom should be in line with the expectations that we've set for your child to learn, okay? Also helpful tools for English language arts are News ELA that provides high interest non-fictional articles. Lexile Measure we'll talk about, actually Metametrics team will talk about. For mathematics, resources that can support learning at home, Khan Academy, and learning tools, okay? All right, so I also want to point out other things that are available on the Starting Smarter site. So I went through what the score report looks like, the sample score report that's available on the site. Um, Parents can also check out test questions on Starting Smarter by just selecting the grade, whatever subject you want to look at, the grade level. And we've included other resources for you. So if you have a parent-teacher conference, we've included planning tools. If you need some starters on how to begin the conversation with your child's teacher, here are some tips on how to get that going. You want to know what your child is doing well in. What changes has your child's teacher noticed? Okay. All right. So, and then you can also visit Be a Learning Hero, which takes you to another site with a lot of resources to help your child succeed in school. So I just wanted to provide you with an overview of what the score report looks like, and I'm going to turn it over to my partners from Metametrics for the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexandria. And a few of the things in our presentation that we're going to do today will be repetitive, but it never hurts to see and connect those dots several times, or at least it doesn't for me. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our presentation, Family Engagement in Reading and Math. We are so pleased you have taken time from your busy schedule to hear this information. We do know the pressures and constraints that are placed on families these days are truly overwhelming, but rest assured, your efforts to support, enrich, and nurture the children in your lives are not being overlooked. And it's our pleasure to offer some help and guidance in this endeavor. This session, as you know, is being brought to you by Metametrics, the creators of the Lexile framework for reading and the quantile framework for mathematics, as well as the team that you just heard from at the Virgin Island Department of Education. Let's start with a quick overview of our time together. We'll begin by looking at the realities all families are facing as they deal with the many, many challenges that are before us. We also want to remind you about where these measures that Alex spoke of can be found. And then we'll take a look at two types of information that can help address those challenges. Specifically, two measures available from the child's school that can help you understand how they are growing in the areas of reading and mathematics. We will discuss Lexile measures, which measure reading ability. And we'll also talk about quantile measures that measure student abilities in math. We'll then be sharing some free tools and research-based resources for utilizing both Lexile and quantile measures. My name is Jane Scott, and in that chat room with you right now, I see that Matt Copeland and Dave have already started sharing some information with you. They will be doing that throughout our time together today. Feel free to send them any questions that may come along as we go through the presentation. And in fact, you will see our email addresses just in case you have any questions that we can answer after today. To begin, when we think about our children's schooling, many of us are left with burning questions. How can I help my child with what they learn at school? What can I do at home to reinforce and support the work that's going on in the classroom? And how will I know if those efforts are working? These are big questions, and questions that we know are often intimidating. Our purpose here today is to help make those questions a little bit easier to answer. As a parent myself, my daughter's grown now, I ask these very same questions more times than I can care to remember. Imagine walking into a library or a bookstore and trying to find the books that are just right for a child. Books that cover topics they want to read about, but also books that are written at a level they can understand. I'm not interested in books written for college students that are far above their abilities. And likewise, I wouldn't want books written for younger students that make that child feel as though they're being talked down to. Again, within this library or bookstore, where do I start? Where do I find the books that are just right for my child? And in the area of math, the situation is much the same. I can remember my daughter coming home from school, and before she could take off her backpack, she was already commenting about the homework that needed to get done that evening. Mom, I've got math homework tonight, and it's all about fractions, and I don't understand it. Well, if my husband weren't at home at the time because he was the math person in the household, I would start to panic. And I think in my own head, fractions, oh my goodness, I probably could use some refreshing help with those too. Where do I even start? Well, you might have grabbed your phone or your laptop and go online to see what resources are available there. But the reality is, doing a simple search for fractions on Google results in over 376 million results. Just like being in that library or bookstore, I remember I was left thinking, where do I even start? Where can I find the math materials that are going to be just right for my child? These are tough questions when all we want to really do is just help our kids. But knowing exactly where to start with that help is the key. Lexile measures for reading and quantile measures for mathematics help us do just that. They take the guesswork out of finding the books and the math resources that are just right for a child. By looking at or comparing a child's math or reading abilities to the reading difficulty of books or the difficulty of math materials, you can save yourself some time by not having to look for that needle in the haystack, but instead go directly to the resources that are just right for that child. Lexile and quantile measures take the mystery out of finding what best fits a child's skills, saving you time, effort, and energy, and getting the student the help he or she needs as quickly as possible. You don't need a crackerjack team of meddling kids with a tripped out van to solve this mystery. Everything you need to help reinforce your child's learning of math and reading is already right at your fingertips. And in the next few minutes, we're going to show you exactly how. To begin at the beginning, let's take a look again at that information that Alex shared about where you are actually receiving the measures. As I'm sure you know and remember, as was shared earlier, that both the Lexile and quantile frameworks have been linked to the USVI Smarter Balanced Assessments in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 in high school. And this simply means you're going to see these measures on information that has already been sent home or will be sent home to you from school. And again, we see that page that Alex shared with us, that is the Smarter Balanced Score Report. On page 3 of the report, as shared, you will find the Lexile student measure at the top on the left, and the quantile student measure is at the top on the right. Two important measures to pay attention to. But another place you may hear children mention getting a recent Lexile or quantile measure is when the school administers the iReady assessment. This assessment is also linked to the Lexile and quantile scale and is given several times a year in school to help teachers, as well as you, to monitor a student's growth as that school year progresses. But again, today, we want to spend some time talking about the two different kinds of measures that you are going to be seeing, if you haven't already, for your students. Lexile measures for reading, quantile measures for mathematics. These measures can help you find the books and materials you need. Let's start by learning a little bit about the Lexile framework for reading and how it can help you with a child's reading. The Lexile framework helps identify the books a child can read and understand on their own. To do this, we measure a child's reading ability with a test such as Smarter Balanced or iReady, and report that measure on the very same scale that we use to measure the difficulty of a book. Lexile measures are always shown as a number with a capital L immediately after it. So when a child's Lexile measure matches, or is at least near the Lexile measure of a book, we know that book is not too hard, not too easy, but it's just right for the child. For example, imagine a child like Rochelle here, and her recent iReady or Smarter Balance shared that she has a 770L Lexile reader measure. This indicates to us that Rochelle is ready to read independently and without any help from an adult text that was also measured at a 770 Lexile measure of difficulty. We all know that if texts are too difficult, well, in this example, books with a Lexile measure well above 770L, Rochelle could grow frustrated and might just quit reading. And likewise, if texts are too simple, books with a Lexile measure well below 770L, Rochelle may grow bored and she may also quit reading. We want to ensure that Rochelle is matched with a book that is just right for her abilities. So we want to look for a book with a Lexile measure that is near Rochelle's Lexile measure of 770L. In this example, we helped Rochelle find Sharon Creech's Walk 2 Moons, a 770L measure book and a perfect match. What does this Lexile measure of text difficulty mean? And how is it calculated? Well, let's dig in just a little deeper. To determine the Lexile measure of a book, we examine two elements, the length of the sentences and the new vocabulary present within those sentences. We know that longer sentences make reading more difficult. We also know that encountering words a reader may not have seen before makes reading more difficult. So we measure these things in each book and calculate how difficult that particular book is compared to hundreds of thousands of other books. From this calculating and comparing, we can assign a Lexile measure that describes just how difficult that book is. Books with higher Lexile measures are more difficult than books with lower Lexile measures. It is also important to note that being ready to read a book doesn't necessarily mean a student should read that book. Please understand, a Lexile measure doesn't tell us everything about a book or everything about the reader. Lexiles are merely a measure of the difficulty of the words and sentences on the page. So, for example, a book like Catcher in the Rye might appear to be a good fit for a fourth grader based on its Lexile measure you see here of a 790L. But those of us who are familiar with Catcher in the Rye and the content know that book is nowhere near appropriate for a child in fourth or fifth grade. Likewise, a Lexile reader measure tells us nothing about the reader's level of interest or background knowledge on a particular topic, or the context, or maybe the purpose for selecting that book to read. Another example here is that of a child who loves learning about dinosaurs. Well, because of that interest and background, that child just might be able to read a book on dinosaurs at a much higher Lexile level than, say, a book written about another topic. The Lexile framework for reading provides us a tool to make more informed decisions about matching students with books, but it cannot tell us which book is exactly right for which child. In other words, a Lexile measure is never the end of a conversation about text complexity or about pairing children with books, but it's a good starting point. Now that we understand the basics of Lexile measures, let's think for a moment about how we might use these measures at home. You may be wondering, what does all this Lexile talk mean, and how do I use this measure? Again, Based on test results, we place the child's reading ability on the same scale that we use to measure books. When we know both the Lexile measure of a child and the Lexile measure of the book, we can figure out how much help the child may need as they read. For example, let's imagine that a child like Mateo you see on your screen has a Lexile reader measure of 900L. And remember, he might have gotten this from that Smarter Balanced assessment at the end of the school year, or that iReady assessment that is taken throughout the year. If Mateo picks a book that has a lower Lexile measure than his Lexile measure, we know Mateo will likely find reading this book to be very easy, and he's likely going to finish it rather quickly. We might want to start thinking about the next book Mateo will want to read. And along the same lines, if Mateo picks a book that has a higher Lexile measure than his measure, he may struggle a bit in reading that book. He may need to slow down his reading to look up new words, or even pause his reading to think about the ideas he just absorbed. We might even want to check in with Mateo while he's reading, asking him questions about how it's going, what may be confusing him, or what are some of the new words he's learning. And to better understand this idea of adjusting our approach to children and what they read, you might find it helpful to take a look at our Lexile Parent Guide, and a link is being made available in the chat window. Now, when considering the best reading support to provide for children, families are encouraged to at home to, maybe help children select their books on topics that they're interested in. Have those conversations. What do you want to read about? And if they find a book and it's too hard for that student to read, but they're interested in the topic, read it together. My daughter and I used to do this all the time. As they're reading, show interest, ask questions. Have you discovered your favorite character in that book yet? What's your favorite part? Oh, that looks like a scary book. What's the scariest part that you've read up to now? Or what's the funniest part? And you can always ask them to tell you 3 new things that they've learned from the topic. When reading is over, ask, do you like how this author tells a story? Do you like how they explain the ideas in the book? And then you want them to tell you why. Try and avoid those yes/no questions. Then, when they're done reading, ask your child to retell the story and listen for a beginning of the story. Hopefully, they'll get you right on into the middle of the story and what is the end. And then, say it's a topic that they seem to be very interested in, ask them what else they want to know about that topic or learn about the topic. And children may choose to read books below their Lexile measure. This is perfect. It's a great way for them to learn more about topics of interest. Now, if you'd like a copy of these suggestions and to see other suggestions like them, please see our handout for families, and a link to this document is being made available in the chat window. At Lexile.com family handout, that PDF is going to give you even more suggestions for using Lexiles at home. Now that we've covered Lexile measures for reading, I'm going to put my little hoarse throat over here with a cough drop. I apologize for that, but I'd like to turn our presentation over to David Barnes, and he's been in the chat room with you. I'm going to go in the chat room if you have any questions on Lexile, and he's going to give us some information on the quantile framework for mathematics, that second kind of measure that Alex and I introduced earlier. Dave?
Thank you very much, Jane. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. I'm glad to be here with you today. Similar to the Lexile framework, the quantile framework measures both a student's skills and the difficulty materials, but this time in the area of mathematics. And again, because we place those 2 kinds of quantile measures on the very same scale, we can identify which materials are too easy, which are too hard, and which are just right for each individual child. So at a particular quantile measure, a child can not only answer a math problem correctly, but they understand why that answer is correct. For example, a child not only knows that 5 times 4 equals 20, but they also can explain how they arrived at that answer. And let's consider a child like Sophia, a child with a quantile student measure of 840 Q, or 840 on the quantile scale, and a particular math problem about finding the area of a cube, also with a quantile measure of 840 Q. We know this problem is just right for Sophia because the quantile measures are the same, or at least very close or very near to each other, and we usually look for them to be within 50 Q above or below each other. In other words, in this example, we know Sophia has just the right amount of math background and skill to feel confident that she can learn about and solve this problem. But let's dig a little deeper into what these quantile measures really represent. Student quantile measures always come from student performance on a math test, just like was talked about with the Lexile measures. And they suggest what math skills and concepts a student already knows and what mathematics a student is ready to learn next. But pay close attention to the wording that was used there, because here is an important distinction between the Lexile framework and the quantile framework. On the reading side, as Jane has been explaining with you, a student's Lexile measures suggest what he or she is ready to do independently. Without the help of a teacher or other adult there as they read, they are prepared to read that text independently. However, on the mathematics side that we're looking at right now, when we talk about a student's quantile measure, we know that it suggests what math concepts a child is ready to learn at school. In other words, we are not asking you to become a math teacher, but quantile measures can be very helpful in reinforcing the math a child has already learned in their classes at school. The other type of quantile measures look at math materials. These materials may include things like worksheets, individual math problems, lessons in a textbook, online games, even videos about mathematics. And to understand how we measure these materials, we have to understand something we call QSCs, or quantile skills and concepts. Again, we abbreviate it QSCs, but they're quantile skills and concepts. The quantile framework for mathematics currently has defined over 600 mathematics skills and concepts from grades K through 12. And these quantile skills and concepts, or QSCs, are the 600 plus things a child learns about math while they're going through their school careers. Each of these 600 QSCs has a quantile measure, which is a number with a capital letter Q right after it. And each of these measures shows how difficult one skill is in relation to the other skills in the database. A concept with a lower quantile measure is easier for students to learn and do than a concept with a higher quantile measure. By examining the QSCs that are present in a resource, again, you can think of this as a worksheet or a video, a lesson, a game, whatever type of material they may be working with. By looking again at these QSCs that are in that material, we can determine the math difficulty, or a quantile measure of that resource as a whole. So now let's think a little bit about how we might use these quantile measures as parents and guardians and caregivers and just any adult that's trying to support a child's learning in mathematics at home. Similar to the Lexile framework for reading, the quantile framework for mathematics allows us to match students and the math skills and concepts at the level that will not frustrate them. Not too hard, not too easy, but just the right level. And so, for example, let's imagine that a student, we'll call this student Dominic, has just completed a test that reports her quantile student measure. The test indicated that Dominique had a 900Q quantile student measure. Within the classroom, the teacher can use this measure to introduce materials at the level where Dominique is ready to learn next. But away from school, this same quantile measure can be considered as a starting point to locate materials to help review and reinforce the math topics Dominic has likely already learned at school. To better understand this idea, you might find it helpful to take a look at our Quantile Parent Guide. A link to this resource is available in the chat window. I believe it has already been posted at this point. Please take a look at that resource to give you more information about the scores. So when considering how to best support and provide help to your student, families are encouraged to think of a number of things that you can see on your screen. For example, you might want to first and foremost help foster a positive attitude toward mathematics. All too often as a mathematics teacher, I found that one of the biggest hindrances to student learning is they learned at a young age that math was supposed to be hard, and they convinced themselves of it, and it became a barrier to their learning. So please don't, even if math wasn't your favorite subject, don't let on that fact to your student. Ask your child how they arrived at an answer. Getting the correct answer is oftentimes the focus for a lot of people and in a lot of places. However, in learning how to do the mathematics, how that student arrived at the answer is so much more important than exactly what the answer is. Expressing how they can find answers and logically coming to the right conclusions is the most important thing a student learns. Ask the child to point at the math around them. There's math in the world all around us. We measure things. We do woodworking. We do distance patterns. Any kind of math that you can find in the world around you, ask your child about it. Ask them to explain what they have learned about the math that you see around you. And when you notice your child is having difficulty, never, ever hesitate to check in with the teacher. Ask the teacher how you can help. Ask the teacher how they might be able to help your child and provide better support. Always be willing to be an advocate for your teacher's mathematics or your students' mathematical learning. And if you'd like a copy of these suggestions and to see some other suggestions like them, please see our handout for families. And a link to that is also being placed in the chat window for you right now. You can see the suggestions here. How can I support a child's math learning on the screen, as well as the link is listed for you again. And it's the same link that's been put into your chat window. Please see this document for some additional ideas about how you can support your child in their mathematics learning. So now that we've had some common understanding of both our Lexile and quantile measures that your students are receiving, we're going to take a little bit of a look at some of the free resources that are available to families that can help you find books and mathematical resources for children to help children with what they're learning at school. When you have a few moments, and you may even want to pause this video if you're watching this on video momentarily so that you can follow along, launch a web browser and visit the website hub.lexile.com/family. And you can see that address at the top of the screen now, hub.lexile.com/family. This is our landing page for families to access what we call the Lexile and Quantile Hub, a one-stop shop for various Lexile and Quantile tools and resources. And best of all, everything you find on this website is completely free. Once you arrive at the home screen for family access, you will immediately notice a number of features. First, in the upper right-hand corner, there is a button to toggle between information in English and Spanish. Second, you will also see links for more information about Lexile and quantile measures. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you will see the two tools that are most frequently used by families. For Lexiles, there is the Lexile Find a Book tool, and for the quantile measures, we have the Quantile Math at Home tool. Second, oh, sorry. Make sure I'm on the right screen, folks. I apologize. With the Find a Book tool, you can search for books by grade, interest, and reading difficulty. At the very top of the page, you can even quickly search for a specific book title or author name by using the quick search option. Or you can search for a book based on a student's grade and reading confidence estimates. First, select the select grade drop-down arrow and select the correct grade from the list. Next, select the hand icon that best represents the student's feelings about reading. Do they find it easy, just about right, or do they find reading difficult? Then move to the far right and select Search. You can also search for books in Spanish when you click the Books in Spanish toggle on the upper right-hand corner of your screen. And once you have made your selections, move to the far right and select Search. The tool will scour the Lexile database and return books that match your criteria. The Lexile measure for the book can be found near the upper left-hand corner of the image of the book's cover, like you see on the screen in front of you. Each of the books has a Lexile measure associated with it. The Math at Home tool for working with quantile measures in your students gives you a number of ways to identify and access free resources to help a student reinforce and replace the math skills they have learned in the classroom. To find resources for a child, you will want to select your state from the drop-down menu. Select the child's grade from the drop-down menu next to the right of the state.
What happened?
Either enter your child's quantile measure if you have that measure in front of you and you know what it is in the box, or you can search for your child based on what how they typically find math topics at school, similar to what we talked about on the Lexile Reading Find a Book tool, whether they find math easy, just about right, or if they find mathematics particularly difficult. From here, you could either begin the search to see all of the resources for your child for their grade level, or enter additional search criteria to narrow down the list of resources that are going to be provided to you by the search tool. Again, the family landing page shows icons for only our two most popular tools among families, the Find a Book Lexile tool and the Math at Home quantile tool. However, keep in mind that there are additional hub tools available if you create a free parent account. In the upper right-hand corner, you can find a register button that allows you to create a free account with your email address. If you have already created an account, simply select the adjacent login button so that you can log in. Registering a free account gives you access to additional tools and resources on the Lexile and Quantile Hub and allows you to mark resources as favorites so that you can find them again when you come back to the site and in the future. Once you have registered, to see all of the books available, use the pull down, or excuse me, all the tools available. I said, but all the tools available, you can use this pull down menu here on the right-hand side of the screen and change it from tools for parents, which just shows the 2 most popular tools, to selecting all tools. Once you have changed the selection to show all tools, you will be able to access additional tools of interest to families. Additional Lexile tools include the Lexile Analyzer, the Lexile Growth Planner, and the Lexile Word Lists, in addition to some other tools that are there, but those are probably the most popular for families. Similarly, some popular tools for families for the quantile measures include the Summer Math Challenge, which is actually available all year long, even though it's a summer challenge. The Quantile Growth Planner, similar to the Lexile Growth Planner, except obviously for quantile measures. And the Quantile Find Your Lesson tool, where you can go in and look at quantiles by lesson, looking at particular textbooks. As you begin to explore these tools, please feel free to reach out to any of us here at Metametrics. We'd be happy to discuss these in more detail and help you find the tool that works for you. In fact, each Monday and Friday, we host office hours live for anyone that would like to join us. You're welcome to join for a few minutes to get answers to any and all of your questions, and then to go back on with your day. And if one of these times doesn't work for you, please feel free to email us. We do look forward to talking with you. We love talking to people in the field, parents and teachers, and whoever has questions about the Lexile and quantile measures, and sharing information about these measures and the great tools and resources that are available from Metametrics to help you use Lexile and quantile measures to help your child. From all of us here at Metametrics, please thank you again for your time today, and we hope that you have found the session to be beneficial.